Above us.
All right, we're live. If I did everything right, welcome. Hold on, I gotta press
didn't die, no.
Boom, there's a George button. You guys should be able to see George. Might be on a couple second delay. Good morning. We're here, Tom and George. Monday.
I got him super
morning.
low. One down.
George is in the middle of a very important business meeting, as you can hear.
Oh, are you kidding me?
All right. Hello. Good morning, Barry and Scott. Good morning, Mike. Keith.
Oh,
welcome.
I'm sorry. All right, I'll see you
Steven.
guys. See you. Woohoo! Oh, that was awesome. Damn, I can't believe I did that. Hi, everyone.
Hello, George.
So yeah, let's go ahead and see if they're gonna notice if we pulled off a TikTok or not. Did you hear that one?
No, what?
They're trying to ban
hello,
TikTok.
Gorilla, Steve. They're trying to ban TikTok? Is that what you said?
Uh-huh.
Hello, Miguel and Manuel. Mark.
Hey, everyone.
We got everybody joining us. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Sourdough
Late
Gaming,
Spark
welcome
is
to
showing signs of life. Yes, I'm praying. Please, Cleanspark.
I take a certain... I won't say
Pride?
a certain satisfaction in all the hate I got about what a moron I am for liking Cleanspark over the last
A moron?
week.
A moron.
Idiot, imbecile, shill, whatever, you name it. I got it this past week. So I don't know what it is that invokes such hatred when people talk about Cleanspark. It used to be Marathon, and it still to a lesser extent is, but now it's Cleanspark. People just get like angry. So I
got one real quick. Ready? Let's do it. Here's a poll. I got a poll already.
Fire away. I'll cue it up.
Does Powell last another 30 days? Yes or no?
Oh,
that's a good poll. Does Powell last another 30 days? For the people who don't know, Powell is the chairman of the Fed, and people are really angry with him right now, even though I think he's just a fall guy. But
poll is posted. Hello, old jock. Hello, Tom.
Let's see.
Hello,
I want to see what
Darren.
people think. This is going to be an interesting one. It's 50-50, 60-40.
Jeff, is that the actual la la la?
I think it is la la la.
Darren, what's up, moneymakers? Poll time. We got you,
Tom,
girl.
have you noticed one thing has crashed that no one is even talking about?
What has crashed?
Oil.
Yeah, oil is down for now.
Yeah.
Let's go look, but it was at like 65 bucks.
Yeah, it's 66.
66 now.
So how do you play oil? Like if I wanted to go long on oil, how could I do that?
You just gotta trade the futures market. I mean, you're not receiving barrels of oil.
Oh, okay, because I cleaned up my backyard for that.
I mean, if you want to actually take physical possession of the oil, that would be a different story. I don't know. I don't even know how to play oil right now. I don't know. Is it going up? Is it going down? I mean, it's come down substantially. And it's making a difference. And we have a green day right now. It's Monday morning. We have a green day. I mean, over the weekend, I thought things were blowing up. This UBS deal with Credit Suisse, this thing changed 5 times over the weekend. I think they finally now have their final, quote, final deal, and Credit Suisse is gone.
Does that not just blow everybody's mind? I know it blows my mind.
What? What blows your mind?
That they're gone.
Yeah, I mean, they were one of the bedrocks, of European banking. And I mean, technically now they've been, I don't know, they're trying to call this a merger. I mean, it's not a merger. There was UBS is going to take it over. The EU is going to back up the whole situation because I think we're not done figuring out how bad it was. And the other thing was there's bondholders that lost all their money at Credit Suisse. So that is a little bit of a different wrinkle than anything we're used to here. And I'm in the United States, so that's what I mean by here. I know we've got people from all around the world.
Look
Parani said,
Wolf
please do an update on Wolf. All right.
Yeah.
That's a...
I can tell you, here's my update. I got out. That was my update. Sorry. There's your update. I got out. I got scared. I don't know. Something's going on funky there.
Somebody
knows something.
They had a very good press release this morning. I think very good things are happening there. I think they got a little bit ahead of themselves when everything else wasn't doing so well, and they're lagging right now. I mean, there's just no doubt they're frustratingly lagging at the moment, but they have good stuff going on, and they're behind the meter at a nuclear power plant. So they got 50 megawatts right now. I think they got another 50 megawatts coming, and 2 cents they're paying for electricity on that, I believe. So, there's a story there. That's a deep dive worth doing. So I wrote it on my list. Thank you for the suggestion. Should George be given the power to post polls? Barry wants a poll.
Yeah. $2.7 billion Federal Reserve. 40 banks of signature flags will become flagged. What? Wow. Does any...
Go
I
ahead.
gotta look into that. No. Jeff just said to type in New York Community Bank to buy failed Signature Bank. But then it's saying it's going to be changed to Flagstar Bank. So Flagstar Bank, I don't know if anybody remembers, Flagstar Bank was one of the notorious gangsters in the 2008 crisis.
Oh, I did not remember that.
Yeah, Flagstar's one. I just remember because I did mortgages back then. And they had a very strong portfolio, I guess. In
a large portfolio or a strong portfolio?
Well, a large. You know what happened.
Definitely not the same thing.
Dude, this is crazy. Almost 80-20, by the way, on the poll. That yes, he will last for another 30 days. And
all right.
No, I don't think he will, by the way. I'm in the 20%er.
Let me take a look at how many we got all together. If everybody could please smash the like button, we appreciate it. It helps the live stream out a lot. It's really been helping our success. This is our Monday morning. I guess this is our Monday morning slash afternoon. And I guess it depends where you are in the world.
Yeah, I think you reach a lot of different people in different time zones. Like I saw somebody was there from a different place. Switzerland! But Switzerland's not in the EU, FYI. So, Tom, why do you think Bitcoin's taking off? Mike says I'm in the 20%.
Sorry, I had technical support jumping in. I'm back.
Did you hear me?
What'd you say?
I won't say what I was going to say. Why is Bitcoin taking off? Question mark.
Well, I mean, it had a nice weekend. So I'm going to my 15-minute chart. So this is where we were Friday when the U.S. equity markets closed. We were just under 27,000. We were at 26.9. So that, you can see, other than this one candle wick, it's almost like that was an instant line of support. This held the entire weekend, and we pushed pretty close to the top of this range. I'm going to zoom out and show you what, I mean, we've been looking at this box here for a couple of months saying, if we can just get to the bottom, if we just get inside of this box, I think we can run straight through it. So this is day 1, 2, 3, 4. We did almost touch the top of this. I'm hoping we turn around today and get the heck out of here and break to the upside. But we'll
You know
look
what
at
I
some of the
think?
technicals. I'm not sure that's going to happen, but I do think there's a good chance.
I think what we need to do is go back on these live streams, get somebody tech to do that, and go back to February. And I said, for some reason, I don't know why, but I think March is going to be parabolic. And everybody's like, oh. Does anybody remember that? Tell me somebody remembers that.
You called March in the last.
I called March.
Probably the last 8 to 10 days of February. You were saying March.
Yeah,
March. Then March did not start out the way that we hoped it would start out. But by the time, by March 10th, everybody was thinking, "Uh-oh, the run's over. We're headed
you guys
fast
were
in
giving
the other
me
direction."
So much flack too. I don't know if you guys remember.
Well, look, this is why this. Where's March 1st?
Show me the first 10 days of March.
So this is the first 10 days of March. Are this? So
yeah.
that yellow arrow, that's the first 10 days of March. And now we have now done the next 10 days of March. So we're 20 days in. That's the first 10. This is the next 10. So, like,
No. Crypto Golf, I said this month that I thought we would hit 30, and then I thought we would pull back to 10. And I'm not even sure. I don't know how low it'll go. It might even go lower than 10. I mean, everybody on the stream would probably pack their bags with it. I think it would be a very, very good decision long term, but not financial advice. But this just looks awesome, doesn't it? I mean, this just looks... So, are you worried about the 184 or 187 banks in the United States? Do you think you should shift money around?
I don't think so. I have a theory on what I think is going to unfold in the next 30 to 60 days, and it's not going to be that hundreds of banks. They're talking about the mid-sized regional banks, and there's some kind of group that they all have together, and they basically went and asked the Fed and said, "Hey, listen, do us a favor, just make all our money insured, because we're afraid everybody's going to do a run on these regional banks, take all their money out and put them in the big banks, because people have a lot more confidence." And this is in the U.S. People have a lot more confidence that never mind the FDIC, but that the Fed will back up, the larger banks, the Bank of America, J.P. Morgan, Wells Fargo. So people are afraid of a mass exodus. But I don't think this is. If that happens, it'll be one of those self-fulfilling prophecy type of things, but I think there's going to be some steps that happen in the middle. There's no reason for that to happen. This is very, very different than the 2008 financial crisis, and people are treating it like this is the same thing or it's worse, and this has a lot to do, in my opinion. There's the FUD is all-time record high right now.
I should do this here. FUD. What's FUD?
What is FUD?
Somebody was saying back in 29 is when the bank shut down? Was it right?
Well, 1929 was the stock market crash and the Great Depression, yeah.
So, but they closed the banks down for 7 days? Is that true?
Man, I was just a kid back then, so I barely...
No, they did. I guess they closed it down.
Yeah, we've had... So that's coming up on 100 years ago. And, we've done a lot of things. We've put a lot of mechanisms in place to make sure that doesn't happen again. And had we not put those mechanisms in place, I will tell you, as what a lot of you guys probably already know, the banks all already would have closed in 2008 had we not had, really, most specifically, the Fed to backstop the whole situation, because it was game over. It wasn't about to be game over. It was game over. And the Fed just said, infinite money, all banks are safe, go.
Why do you think they don't want to say that right now?
I think they're I think this is all a part of the FUD. They're stretching out the pain. That's what I think. And by the way, it's good for Bitcoin. In case anybody hasn't noticed, this is all this FUD around the banking system and the financial crisis. Bitcoin has been maybe the biggest winner out of the whole situation.
What do you think Bitcoin will go higher than in the near term? You think it's just going to keep going up now for like in April, or you think it's going to pull back any? What are you thinking?
I mean, I think we got to reassess. If it can get out of this range, I will tell you, I'm a little worried. I'm starting to hear everybody, we went from absolute gloom and doom in cryptocurrency and in Bitcoin in specific. All of a sudden, I hear Bitcoin 40,000, Bitcoin 50,000, Bitcoin 60,000, Bitcoin all-time highs. So it does give me a little bit of pause that, almost overnight, everybody switched to Bitcoin to the moon. When everybody switches, they're usually wrong. But I do think right now, I mean, the pressure is upward right now. There's just absolutely no doubt about it. And this banking thing is not going to go away overnight. I believe that they will stretch this out for potentially months. And they don't want to come in. It's not time to universally just come in and bail out every bank. They want some of this pain and suffering. Particularly the Fed does. I think they think this is helping inflation. I do also think we're going to see the inflation numbers start to drop. And that's going to start moving in the right direction. So I still feel the same way that I've been saying all along. I thought we would have 2 or 3 more 25 basis point rate hikes. And then there would be a short period of time where they do nothing, and then they would start lowering rates, and all that would happen by the end of this year. So that's what I said in January of this year. It's now 2 months later in March. I'm sticking to the same story. I think this is unfolding. There's some nuances that are a little bit different than I expected, but I think this is unfolding the way that it was most likely to unfold, in my opinion. I'm going to end the poll because I feel like we say, yes, people think Jerome Powell is safe by a margin of 3-1.
That's interesting.
So we got a yes on that. We can throw
so
up
my
another
answer
poll.
is no. I don't think he makes it. I think that they have to point the finger at somebody, and you have to have a figurehead go, and I think he's going to be the figurehead that goes.
Somebody's got to pay.
Someone's got to pay.
And you think
somebody
it's
should have known? Yeah. I think he's. I mean, I think he's going to be a scapegoat, obviously. But,
I mean, let's be honest. They'd be doing him a huge favor.
What's the next thing? Do we go up 0.25?
There's a meeting Wednesday, right? Tuesday and Wednesday, and then at 2 p.m. on Wednesday, they announce the next rate hike, if there is a next rate hike. I'll show you what the futures have built in, but I remain on 25 basis points. I'm just, confidence is high that that's what's going to happen. Anything else, to me, feels like a mistake. Because it would be such a change in their narrative. Obviously now, so this is what's going on right now. As of this morning, and I think I'm going to update this and see if it changed again, because this changes in real time. So you've got 22, the market is built in a 22% chance that there's going to be no rate hike, and about a 78% chance that there's going to be a 25 basis point rate hike. So you'll see 50 basis points is long gone. That's off the table. I did hear a few people go way out on a limb and say they're going to lower rates. I think that is completely out of the question. I would say there's something that resembles 0% chance of that happening. I think it's extremely unlikely they go down to 0 just because they would lose so much. The Fed's the only thing the Fed has, and they don't really even hardly have this, is they have to have some amount of credibility. Their word has to mean something. So they've already lost the vast majority of that credibility. If they were to go, because remember, it was just 1 week ago they said, listen, we think we're going to need to speed up these rate hikes. All of a sudden, 50, there was 3 or 4 days where 50 basis points was up at around an 80% chance. That was just 1 week ago. So if they go inside of 1 week from saying we've got to speed this up to we're stopping altogether, credibility's gone. Their ability to try to control inflation on a going forward basis is going to cease to exist if they do that. So that's why for that singular reason, I feel like they can't do 0. I guess had things cascaded and another 30 banks closed this week, then it might have backed them into a corner where they were going to have to do something they didn't want to have to do. But that's not how it's going down so far. Omar said, I think Chairman Powell and Gensler should both go home. I think you're not alone on that one.
Well, only 20% agree with him. Well, I guess it wasn't worded properly. No,
yeah,
I guess,
this is should they go home or are they going home? So on the 15-minute, I mean, we're bouncing around. So just to take a quick look at what's going on in the world of Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners, just Bitfarms is up about 4.5%. Now remember, Bitfarms, they rug pulled at 3:59 p.m. and 59 seconds yesterday. So this really just gets it back to where it was going to close on Friday. So that looks like it's kind of leading, but it really isn't. It's more along the lines of Hut's up 1%, Hive's up 1%. CleanSpark is having a little bit of a breakout. It's up over 8% so far. We'll see if that holds. Riot just continues to be a machine. Riot has been a machine moving in the right direction. I'll get to some of my own personal charts that I make in a bit and talk about and show you what Riot's done. I mean, this has turned into my biggest position just simply because the stock just keeps going up so much. Marathon's having a little pullback, but they've been a very strong performer. A lot of people are freaking out about the amount of stock that they've issued in the last 2 quarters, and there seems to be gigantic debates, arguments, misunderstandings about how much outstanding stock they have, when they issued the stock, how much dilution has gone on. So we can go through that. It's all in. They just put out their 10K, so it's in there. But to be honest, I mean, the thing's 160 pages long, and it's not like it is not evident. You gotta dig deep and figure all that information out. They don't make it easy. So, but I did do that, and they also put on their own website, and several of the Bitcoin miners are now doing this. They're putting the number of outstanding shares on their website. I'll tell you, a year ago there were 0 of them doing that. So the number of outstanding shares was like this great big mystery because all of them have at the market shelf programs. So you don't know. But we do have pretty much latest and greatest information. They did do some dilution, but remember, they got rid of $100 million of debt that I've been saying, I thought that debt was an absolute disaster. So I would trade that equity for the debt any day of the week. It was very short-term line of credit type stuff. It was encumbering their Bitcoin stack, and it was at a high interest rate. So all that was awful. It's all gone now. So I feel good about it.
I'm trying to peel a banana, and I cannot peel the damn thing.
These are some of the simpler.
Look, you peel it backwards, and you're okay.
I forgot. There's a life hack on that. We all peel bananas the wrong way, apparently.
Yeah, did you know? Okay.
I can't remember what it is.
Oh, I probably shouldn't eat a banana on the stream.
Uh-oh.
I'm never here the album.
Yeah, that's for like members only or your
You know what's so
OnlyFans
sad?
page.
At least I make myself laugh.
And that's the most important thing of all. I put a link in the description for those of you who are interested. You can become a member of the channel. We have a bunch of content built up that's for members only. Tomorrow and every Tuesday after the market closes, we do a members-only live stream. Members get to pick a video company for me to do a deep dive video on, so we have a bunch of those. And I also do some other random videos if something's going on and I've reached my video limit for the day on the public videos. It also supports the channel, so I appreciate it. There's a bunch of members on the live stream right now, so thank you to all the existing members, and you're welcome to join us. I think it's worth it. We also have a private Discord that has a usually very good conversation going on.
Now.
The public Discord.
Well, they get in a fight every once in a while, though, guys.
Well, on the public Discord, it's like sometimes it turns into a little bit of a free-for-all. So we try to, you know, we've got some moderators and all that, but it's just, there's a lot more people there on the private Discord for members. Everybody's a little bit more serious. We have very strong members, so, you know, we talk about, it's a much higher conversation that we're having over there. And I know we have a lot of strong subscribers past that aren't members as well. But we also have...
That is the best question, Ryan. I'm going to ask Tom right now. Why are the miners lagging so far behind Bitcoin?
I mean, I don't have an answer to that. I will tell you I did that. I talked a lot about that on my video yesterday, and I've got some charts to show you guys that they are clearly over the last, in particular, in the last 30 days, the Bitcoin miners have lagged behind Bitcoin substantially. So a lot of people, I switched the way I do my analysis because everybody was saying, oh, you're comparing it, you know, Bitcoin hit 25,000 last August, and it did not hit it again until this February, and then now again in March, but now we've gone through 25,000. We're up near, you know, we were at 28,000. So we're way past that. And I was comparing to last August, and I'm going to go show you what it looked like, and then I'll show you what I changed it to. So if you compare Bitcoin, this is as of Friday. So obviously today's, you know, action is not in here. From last August, when Bitcoin hit $25,000, until Friday, Bitcoin itself is in first place. It's up 7%. DigiHost is up 3%. It's the only thing in the green. All the rest of these miners are anywhere from a small disaster to a major disaster in comparison. So remember, Bitcoin is now back to the very same price that it was. So you have to argue that, you know, Bitcoin's up 7%, and I'm not going to take Marathon because people get too excited about Marathon, but, you know, take Iris Energy. They're down 55% in the same time that Bitcoin's up 7%. But I've been getting a lot of pushback. Oh, you're just going too far back. That's not relevant. August was, you know, in cryptocurrency world, that was like a million years ago. So this is the new one that I did. This is the Bitcoin miners and Bitcoin this month versus last month. Wow. So last month, Bitcoin hit 25,000. This month, Bitcoin hit 27,000. So you can see Bitcoin's up here, up 6% as of Friday. So this is not over time, and this is not, you know, as the network difficulty has increased over the last year. This is just the last 3 or 4 weeks, depending on which, you know, day each one of these hit their high in February. Other than Cypher, which now is pulling back big time today. So let's just take a quick check. This might be nearly erased. Okay, so now, see, look what's happened. That's been completely erased. So the only one on this, the only one that was outperforming Bitcoin is now, it was at 12%. It's down 12% today. So that puts it down to 0. So you've got the only one in the green, and we'll just double check because I believe Riot, Riot is still in the green today. So you have literally one Bitcoin miner that is performing relatively the same as Bitcoin, and one Bitcoin miner that's in the green in the last 1 month, when the last 10 days have been a massive, massive tear for Bitcoin. So the Bitcoin miners, and this happens, the only thing that I can say is this is not the first time this happens. Sometimes these guys move at different times. Even amongst the Bitcoin miners themselves, they can run at different times. And then the difference between when Bitcoin runs and when the Bitcoin miners run, up and down, sometimes there's just a lag. Sometimes the Bitcoin miners are out ahead of Bitcoin. Sometimes they're behind Bitcoin. So this is one of those times, unless you think that for some reason in the last 3 or 4 weeks, the basic narrative on Bitcoin miners has changed, and now they are no longer, whereas 1 month ago they were a leveraged play on Bitcoin, you feel now they are not a leveraged play. And it's even worse than that. Not only are they not a leveraged play, but they're a disaster to the downside over the course of the last month. So I think all of these, if Bitcoin can have a little bit of a run and a little bit of staying power, I think you're going to see some very big moves to the upside in some of these. Now, every single Bitcoin miner is not going to be a winner, right? There's going to be some winners and losers. But somewhere in here, there's some companies that are going to make big, big moves. You guys know which ones I think they are. I'm heavy on CleanSpark, which is down 36% in the last month. And remember, a month ago, CleanSpark was already in last place out of all the Bitcoin miners. Now it's down another 36%. Bitfarms is down 28%. That's one I have a high level of conviction in. But look, Hive's down 29%. Mawson's down 33%. I mean, there's a lot of these companies. Some of these companies, I will caution you, and not really so much Iris, but some of these companies made massive, massive changes to their business model.
Look at what Jeff is saying. Did you see what Jeff's just said?
No, what'd Jeff say?
He said, I predict Bitcoin back below 19K in 3 weeks.
Oh, Jeff, stop it. I read your waterfall theory, and the last time you said that, it happened. So I'm ignoring it this time. And I'm just going to stick my head in the sand. 19, you could almost even convince me. I do not think we're revisiting 15. I don't think we're ever revisiting that again from this day forward. George does, and a lot of other people do. Although most of the other people that do now, all of a sudden over the weekend, change their mind and they think Bitcoin's going to their all-time high. So, you know how that goes. Don't forget to smash the like button if you can. It's much appreciated. It helps out the live stream. This is our special Monday live stream, which we think is potentially going to be a new thing if it is successful.
You bury, there it is. Sell in May and go away.
But the question is going to be, is that going to be true for Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners? So that's not the sense I'm getting.
The only reason I think they're doing it isn't because I think that Bitcoin's going to be terrible overall. I think they're just doing it just to screw with us one last time. I think it's to put the fear of God in us.
Well, if we haven't had enough of that at this point, I mean,
I know.
This has been
This is like, hang on, I got a great analogy. This is like a football team, right? This is like, let's just say the Patriots, and they're up by 37, right?
Yeah.
And they go to 53. That's what this is.
You're talking about the Patriots back when they had Tom Brady.
Yeah. It's a Bill Belichick special move. I want you to go out there. I want you to kick them when they're down. But the Bills prove that you can lose when you have a huge lead. So
that's right. Hey, listen, the game's not over till it's over, but they were known for running up the score. But I think that they've already run up the score on us here in Bitcoin. I mean, if I go back to the daily chart, to me, this flash crash in June, and in so many ways, I keep going back to this. In so many of the technical ways, this was the bottom for the technicals. Having said that, this was not the bottom for Bitcoin. Many months later, we did take a whole nother journey down, about $2,000 more dollars, down to 15,000. I got a line of 15.7, but it was more like 15.5. Let's see, 15.512 on that day. 15.460 was the low. That's November 21st. So, and this was the FTX day. Remember, November 8th and 9th was FTX. So it ran down to 15,500, and it stayed in this area, you know, a little bit higher, somewhere in the high 16,000s for 2 months. So this was 2 months of pain after we had this disastrous nightmare of pain, after we had already gone below the 200-week moving average, which Bitcoin does not do. I keep seeing people say it's never done that before. It has actually done that 2 other times before, but it was for like a split second. One time it was for like 3 days. The other time it was for like a week, and then it ran from there. This time we spent... This whole chart you're looking at is all below the 200-week moving average. We only just now moved back above it. In fact, I'm going to add it on here and just make sure we're still above it right now with the little bit of pullback that we have. So yeah, we're very... Let me make this line more prominent because you can't see that. So this yellow line is the 200-week moving average. You can see, as a part of this flash crash, we went below that. That was, right, that was 10 months ago. So we didn't just dip below the 200-week moving average. We went below there, and other than, you know, a blip here where we got above it, we stayed below it. We got way below it. On this day, we were 35% below. But I will tell you, the funny thing is the only 2 other times this line has not held, we did have an immediate flash crash 30% dip below the 200-week moving average. Now, in both of those instances, it was a flash crash, and we immediately moved back above. In this instance, you can see we lingered for, you know, this is 3/4 of a year. So we just 3 or 4 days ago got above this, and now we're fairly comfortably above this. So I see a lot of people talking about this being a strong line of support. This was, you can see, like here we bumped into it as resistance. This, once we got below this, this was strong resistance, and I'm hoping it's going to be strong support. That's why I feel like we're not going to go revisit a lot of these other super low numbers. Having said that, you know, is anything going to surprise us right now in Bitcoin? I mean, it's kind of like all bets are off. So, but this is my theory. I believe that we're going to hold this line. I think this line is now going to turn into support. You can see, I think we've moved from we've already moved from the bottom to the top of this. We've pulled back a little. Now we just need a push to get out of the top of this, break through 29. This could be some strong resistance. If we can pop past this, I'm going to go to the 1 week because it makes more sense on the 1 week. Like, just like there was not much going on here in this, you know, this is a gap. We didn't really spend any time in here ever. Well, if we can break through this, you'll see we've got another one of these type of areas between, you know, 29 and 33. So I do think it's going to be tough to break through 29, but I think if we do, we could run potentially up to 33. So to me, that's my next price target that I have in mind, understanding that this certainly could turn the other way. There's an awful lot going on in the market.
I heard somebody say 53.
53,000?
Yeah, how hard is it to get there?
Well, let's go back to the weekly because that's not insane. I've got too many lines on here. Let me just erase my lines. So this, you know, we candle wicked up. If you remember, in March of 2022, we had a really nice relief rally. We've beaten this relief rally, but this was like 44% or something, 47% from the bottom to the top. So that's the last time we had a strong relief rally prior to this. We got up to 48,000. So that is a number that I could see us revisiting because, again, from there, it was almost down in a straight line. So it's not like there's a lot of lines of support and resistance in the middle here. You'll see some stuff back here and back here creating some potential resistance, but we just ran from 48,000 to 17,000. I mean, that was light speed. This was March 28th. This was June 13th. And it's the week of June 13th. What was the day? Somewhere in that week. June 20th, June 17th.
So what is that pullback? What percentage is that?
That's a 63, almost a 64% pullback. So anytime we run down, there's the potential to run up. Now, you hate running up because the reverse is also true. When you run up, you know, it's not as strong as support, and you may fall right back down. So many times, I'll just show you, even on the weekly, like every time you see one of these giant runs, so many times it's followed by the exact same red candles that get right back down to where you were. And you can see this on the 4-hour time frame, the 1-day time frame, the 1-week time frame. So that's what we want to avoid. We've just had a really big run up, so it doesn't look like it, but this run up is much bigger than the one we were just looking at. From the bottom to the top, this was 86% run up in Bitcoin since it hit its lows after the FTX situation in November. So that is a gigantic run up. Now, we did have a couple of cool off periods here in the middle in, you know, late February and the first 10 days of March. So the last half of February, the first 10 days of March was a cool off period, but now we've run up again. And this, to me, this is the most crucial thing of all. On the 1-week time frame, this doesn't look like we spent very long under this, but this is a long time. This was, you know, more than 3/4 of a year. And you can see, like here, the last time we got below this, here's one weekly candle. And remember, this is March of 2020. So we had the global thing that you're not allowed to talk about happen. And so we had a gigantic crash in March of 2020. And the very next week, we got back above the 200-week moving average. So even in this was a true black swan scenario. We just popped below this and jumped right back above it. And we've been, I mean, look how far above this we've got. We do not usually even test this line. So that's why I have been arguing, I think this is the worst bear market we've ever had in the history of Bitcoin. This action right here is unprecedented. Because we didn't have as big of a run up, as a percentage-wise, we didn't have as large of a pullback, but when you look at it statistically in most other ways, this was more vicious than any other bear market we've ever had. So maybe they're going to continue to bring the pain, but it's not like they haven't brought the pain. This was pain on top of pain on top of pain, and we still have Bitcoin miners, you know, trading as penny stocks even now.
The plane I'm looking at is going for more money than I wanted to pay. On the first day of the auction.
How many days is the auction?
It's not up until, it's got 9 more days to go. It's at $323,000.
You don't even want to look at it then for 8 days.
Oh, you think?
They just jerk you around. You know how these auctions go.
These auctions
let's see. Tom is saying Midgie is trading at 30% of tangible book. Earnings out this week. I expect a pay down of debt. Keep an eye on that one. So stock ticker MIGI Mawson. Mawson's been an underperformer. I don't understand. Oh, thank you, Kevin. Much appreciated. We have a super chat from Kevin. We have
Kevin's back.
Kevin's back. We have no question with it, though. So feel free, if you're going to do a super chat, feel free to please ask a question with it. But thank you. Much appreciated. Crypto golfer, if you can handle this bear market, you'll be just fine going forward. So, yeah, I mean, this has been a long time. And we didn't get this 85% pullback that everybody had in their head, but the numbers just work differently. We didn't have the run up. So, you know, as a function of that, we didn't necessarily have the same run down percentage-wise. But like I said, if you look at the technicals, I can tell you the Fear and Greed Index was never lower than it was in June of 2022. So, you know, the Fear and Greed Index got to unprecedented and stayed there for weeks. It was, people were in pure, like, fear isn't even the right word. Extreme fear is what was going on in June of 2022. And we started to have a little recovery, and then, you know, the thing was we just kept getting whacked by one situation after the next. The FTX thing, obviously, was massive, so, you know, that pulled us down to an even lower low. But we didn't get, people weren't as afraid. I think people actually took comfort in the fact that with that thing falling apart and the potential, you know, outreach that was going to have, that Bitcoin was able to hold on, I actually think provided a lot of confidence. Phonebook San said, that's a $10 donation. We're $5 away from streaming another live stream tomorrow. So we have an unbelievably low goal. Our goal is to try to get 3 members per live stream. Kevin kind of got us two members worth of money. Our membership is only $5, everybody. So if you know, no obligation, but I think there's an awful lot of value in it. And I think the members will tell you that it's a good group.
I'm going to tell you, I'm glad the Chargers did not stick, Kevin. Did you see that Republic just stopped trading? Republic Bank.
All right, so thank you, Alex. That's been we've been waiting for this one. So is that going to be the end? So this is how I feel like they're going to do it. And one bank at a time. I don't think we're going to have a rash of 20, 30, 40, 50. They were saying, oh, there's 180 something of them in danger. I don't think we're ever going to get to any of that. I think it's much more painful to the market to do this 1 or 2 or 3 at a time. And they may have to do, you know, between 5 and 10 in total to reset this whole entire situation. That's what I think is going to happen. And we knew the first 3 we kind of knew. And really internationally, I will say the first 4 because you got to count Credit Suite as well because, you know, they've been that's been in the works for a long time, but it's over, right? They're gone. Kevin, thank you, sir, for another $5 super chat. Much appreciated. And
oh my goodness.
Ricky, welcome to the Talkin' Investing Squad. Ricky 2416, our newest, latest, and greatest member. Welcome aboard. Much appreciated.
I'm looking at, this is really funny. I'm going to buy, you guys are going to think I'm nuts. I should tell you what I'm looking at, what I'm going to buy.
Oh boy. Now you got to tell us.
I'm looking, so I look at a lot of auctions. So I own a company called Emergency Water Removal. And so we need like cleaning products and masks and gloves and all that. So, a lot of people bought all this crap, during COVID, and now they're trying to liquidate it all. Somebody has ready-to-eat meals, 48 cases for $25. So, I guess I could throw $25 at it.
What was it? Sorry, I missed that.
Individual ready-to-eat meals that have a shelf life for 10 years.
10 years? Is this military grade?
Yes, yeah, military, yeah. And like this one is beef strips in a savory tomato sauce.
How many meals are there?
48 cases.
48 cases. Oh, we got to get the
bar.
underground bunker going.
Yeah. I mean,
so you got to get that.
I'm buying it. You don't understand. So you get to make an orange-based powder. They call it beverage-based powder orange. A pilot bread single. I don't know what that means. And then fig bars, and then the tomato, and the garlic potato. Oh, instant mashed potatoes.
Instant. Listen,
I'm buying
sure it's
all
not
these.
the best food on earth, but you know what? It's
even if
food.
you just gave it to people like that are starving right now, I'm gonna buy all of it.
Is it an auction or is it just?
Yeah, it's an auction.
What's that? How much? What are they at? When's it end? Or is
Nobody's
there a price that you can reach that?
Nobody's even offered any money for it. Here's 48 cases. Here's another 48 cases. Here's another 48 cases. Here's another 48 cases. Here's nobody. Yeah, nobody. This is insane. I got to see how many go in a truck though, like a semi, and I'll just buy a semi of it.
Is this FDA or whatever the? Yeah, food.
No, I was looking at it for the paper towels because they have lots of 1,040 of the paper towel rolls. You know what I mean? See them at the.
Oh yeah.
That is $25 for the 1,040 of them.
That's insane. You just definitely do that. That's crazy.
Isn't it? This is the stuff that gets me in trouble. Luckily, I have a lot of storage, so.
Yeah, it's not like you don't have the room to fit it, so you might as well. That's good stuff.
Then they got cloth masks, cases, 50 cases.
But the cloth masks they don't work for your business.
Whatever. But listen to this one. 780 cases of high-capacity hard-rolled towels. So that's paper towels for $25. No one's buying anything at this auction. 42,000 cloth face masks for $25.
I mean, that's beyond giving it away. That's ridiculous. That's
I
insane.
know.
Just buy everything. I don't know where you're at, but
buy it all? Isn't this insane? I've never even heard.
You got the space, man. Just buy all that, fill it up. We'll figure out what to do with it. Like you said, we could.
Toilet papers. 100 cases of Georgia Pacific toilet paper, $25. Guys, if you want toilet paper, I'm going to give you a deal on it.
Listen, we already went through a time where people were borrowing and stealing toilet paper.
But you guys don't. 20 cases of Charmin's professional 2-ply toilet paper.
Oh, the 2-ply.
$25. I'm sorry, guys. I always do this.
I want to just say, Kevin said, who gave us 2 super chats, this is the nicest thing I can do all day. I hope others can take information and apply it to benefit their life. So that is what we're here for. Well said, Kevin. Thank you very much.
And now we're even gonna, Kevin, we're gonna take it another level. We're gonna have toilet paper to be able to give out to people.
Oh, this could be a new perk for members.
Members,
we got a little care package for you.
This is insane. Then they have bleach. Sorry, I'll stop. Just this alone will save me a ton of money. Wow. Does anybody think a pandemic's going to come back again? Or we're going to get shut down again? There's a good question. There's a good poll. Does anybody think we'll get shut down again?
Are we going to get shut down again? Is that the next poll? First, I just went to, who pointed it out? Somebody pointed it out for us. Ryan. First Republic Bank is down 44.8%. I don't know if it is halted or was halted and it's back up and running, or if it's still halted right now. So, I mean, these guys this is the next one, right? And it just seems once this starts happening, it's like there's no saving it. So, I think you can add them to the list. So this is what I'm saying. I don't think there's going to be no fallout. There's just the mere perception that, you know, your money is not safe at the bank is a self-fulfilling scenario where you start to get runs on the bank. But I think they have a lot of mechanisms to keep it in check and not let it, you know, spread to all the banks. Also, again, the big asset that everybody's complaining about, you know, in 2008, banks had a big problem because they had a lot of subprime, bundled subprime mortgages that effectively, you could argue that they were illiquid. Number one, they were illiquid. So you couldn't get anything for them. So now all of a sudden you have this thing that's a major asset on your balance sheet. It's illiquid. And, you know, you've got mortgages behind them that people are defaulting on. You've got houses behind that aren't worth anywhere near what the mortgage is. That's a broken system. That was a genuine problem that there really was no short-term fix to. Right now, what you have is 10-year bonds, which because the Fed has raised rates in the last year very rapidly, the 10-year bonds are selling at a discount. But they're not illiquid. They're 100% liquid. They're selling at a discount. That's how bonds work. And so you can calculate, like, the short-term ramifications if they had to cover the whole deficit. So this is a very different situation. And I know some people I've seen try to make the argument that this is worse than that. But to me, this is apples and oranges. I mean, you had... Remember, real estate is by far the biggest. We look at all these asset groups. Real estate's the biggest asset group on earth by a mile. So when your underlying banking problem is the real estate assets and the mortgages that are on your books, that was a genuine, unprecedented problem. So I just don't think. Here, can I do this poll? How about this, George? Is this banking crisis worse than the last one?
That's a great one. I think they did a stress test, didn't they, Tom? For the 187 banks, that's usually what they do, is a stress test to figure out what liabilities and what deposits they have.
And they all always get their stress tests. The thing that they overlooked, because, you know, as you annually get your stress tests, remember these are U.S. government, in many instances, you know, 5-year, 10-year bonds. So when the government comes in to do a stress test, they're not looking at those as assets that are a problem. Right now that the rates have been raised, I think they have to redo their stress tests and say, okay, what's the exposure here if there was a run on this bank and they had to sell these assets, and they are all liquid, so they could sell them all. What's the exposure? How much is the shortfall? So it's a very different scenario. All right, so this is just a yes or no. Is this thing going to be worse than last time? Now remember, some people could argue that it's already worse. Last time we only had one big bank go under, a lot of big financial institutions, so that's a little misleading, but Washington Mutual was the only large bank that actually failed. we've already had 2 large banks fail in the U.S. Now we just had a large bank fail in Europe, and now it looks like First Republic is next in line. They seem to be in some pretty big trouble here. So I'm certainly not arguing that there's no situation, but I do think, well, I'll let you guys answer. What do you think? This one or last one? What's better? What's worse?
I think it's going to be worse. I think this is an extension of that, personally.
So you could argue that.
Yeah, I think that we just kicked the can down the road. I don't think we addressed. I think that, unfortunately, I have to say this. We have a spending problem in the United States. And unfortunately, until that is under control, then we have a problem. And we're not going to get that under control anytime soon.
I mean, we have a massive spending problem at the federal government level. Is that what you're talking about? Or at the consumer
states,
level?
At different states, consumers. Unfortunately, what needs to happen is we need to bring a lot of things back to the United States to be made here. I think that we're in. Don't even get me going. We're in a situation right now that if we don't have some grown-ups in the room, we're gonna have some problems.
So Barry pointed out there was no major European war during the last crisis, so that's a valid point, right? Where the socioeconomic aspects globally right now. We haven't been in a spot like this in a long, long time. For most people, even on this stream, I know we have some, I'll say, adults.
Hang on, I have to give a shout out to somebody from South Africa. I'm going to try to say his first name.
Go for it.
We say Thabile? Would you say it that way? Thabile?
Let me see.
Thabai? I can't do the last name, but thanks, buddy. That's good to hear. Where are you in South Africa, by the way? Where are you in South Africa? Yeah, and I think that the next 2 years are going to be probably parabolic, as in a lot of crazy things are going to happen, unfortunately. I mean, we're just focused on the financial aspects of what's going on, but I think in anything you do, you should be prepared for. Did anybody ever think the world was going to get shut down the way it did? I know that wasn't even in a scenario of mine in my thought process.
Everything, to your point, George, I mean, you're correct. Everything affects the financial, market. So whatever it is, whether it's, war, politics, disease, you name it. I mean, all these things have direct, tangible effects on the economy, and so therefore they have an effect on your investing. So it's hard. Like, we don't like to talk about politics on this channel, and that's a pretty strong rule for us because it's very divisive. But, on your own, you guys do need to do your own due diligence, like what's happening in the world, what's happening politically, what's happening in all the other ways that could have a positive or negative effect on your investments, or favor some investments versus other investments. And the perfect example of that is what's happening right now. All this fear in the banks, there is absolutely no question. This has been a boom for Bitcoin. And not even really the entire cryptocurrency world. The Bitcoin dominance level is going up drastically. The flight to safety, when push came to shove, and this is the first time it's ever happened, people started flocking into Bitcoin. That's what's been going on for the last 2 weeks. Now, that's a super short period of time, so we don't know if it's going to last or if people will, feel better, exhale, and get back out. We'll see what happens.
Well, and the other reason why I love XRP, and this is, again, I know we're pretty much a purist of Bitcoin here, but the reason I love XRP is it still has not been hacked. And you cannot go through one of these coins in the top 10. Maybe, I don't know, Binance maybe. I don't know, that Binance coin maybe wasn't hacked.
I'm
But
not
for
sure.
what Bitcoin, excuse me, for what XRP was made for, once you guys start selling and trading Bitcoin, it really aggravates me because it costs so much money. And it's just like, I it's just all these exchanges. I don't know how they went out of business. They were making so much money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's absolute power. I know they were using consumer funds and not, the money that they earned. I understand that, but it's just sad that you can't be responsible. And that is true about corporations create things and then people want them. That's called marketing. But I guess a long time ago, I got out of the whole, following trends and stuff. Like, look, I'm wearing a freaking t-shirt. You know, I don't, for my life's sake, I just changed. And I think I saved myself into prosperity too, by the way. I think you can do that in the United States. I know it's harder in other countries, but I think we can do that here.
Richard, you may have already talked about this, George. Richard said we have a greed problem. Consumers spend because research shows companies will make them what will make them want. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I mean, a great example is Starbucks. I don't ever go to Starbucks. I don't drink coffee. But look at how big Starbucks is. That's just a waste to me. You know?
if you would
It's
have
a
told me that coffee, you just picked the perfect example of all time.
yeah.
Because we grew up in a world, I'm speaking for those plus or minus my age. I'm in my 50s. I know, it's shocking, isn't it? So, anyway, the coffee didn't mean anything. In our day, you brewed a pot of coffee in the morning, and you drank some coffee and you went on there was no coffee stores. Now all of a sudden you've got
Coffee.
not just Starbucks, and Starbucks is a monster. I'm going to check the market cap, but it's enormous. And there's a lot of other coffee companies out there in addition to that. First, let me just quickly check. Because so Starbucks is $116 billion market cap. They sell coffee. They caused McDonald's to have to change their entire formula. Dunkin' Donuts doesn't even care about donuts anymore. They sell coffee now. It's like that's the kind of change that's just mind-boggling, because for all time prior to that, everybody still drank their cup of coffee. They just didn't go to Dunkin' Donuts to get it because they put some sugar in it and some this and some flavor and some that, and all of a sudden, boom, you have an industry where one didn't exist. A multiple hundreds of billions of dollar industry where one didn't exist. So that's a classic example, George, right there.
Yeah. And, I mean, I guess there's certain brands that I buy and don't think about it. You know what I mean? Like toilet paper is a great example too. Because, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but to me, it's more features. I like a certain toilet paper, the way it feels.
They have
You know what I mean? But I
a
don't.
lot of features.
There is actually.
Barry is bringing up Dutch Brothers. Barry is a member, and we have. Oh, there you go. I was gonna say, speaking of Dutch Brothers, where's Jeff? Dutch Brothers to the moon, said Jeff. Minor Doc said Starbucks is the new McDonald's. I mean, that's true. And McDonald's is still McDonald's, but Starbucks is McDonald's.
So here's my question. Do you think we're heading off a financial cliff in the stock market?
Is that to me?
Yes, that's to you.
I do not think that we are headed off a financial cliff. I don't. I know.
I do, and he doesn't. By the way.
If you look right now, that you're not alone, George. I mean, if you watch MSNBC or not CNBC, Fox Business, whatever it is that you watch, or if you just go on to all the, Bloomberg, every periodical, which now I guess they're not periodicals now, they're all online anymore, or if you look at what all the YouTubers are talking about, gloom and doom is in right now. I think it's in big time. People are selling gloom and doom, and I'll tell you, I mean, if I think there's gloom and doom, I'll say so. And we have said so many times in the past. And George, you're worried about it right now. I'm just telling you, I'm not worried. I think that this was a much more brutal stretch than people give it credit for. I think the government in the United States, we had a recession. We chose not to call it a recession. And so that is one of the things that's elongating this process, because everybody keeps waiting for the recession, and maybe we'll have another one. But in reality, we already had a recession. We had 2 quarters in a row of negative GDP, and in every single way, with the exception of the employment numbers, which I feel are almost worthless. They're so, I'm not going to say rigged, but there's so many exterior variables that make them not apples to apples. Take that out, and in every other way, I mean, if you ask the average American, and you guys can tell us what country you're from, and if you feel like you experienced the same thing in your country. I feel like Europe had a very similar situation. I feel like Canada went through a very similar situation. You know, we had a lot of,
But Tom, you bring up a very interesting good point. But what has been done to fix that? You see what I'm saying? You're saying that we went through. We're not currently going through. You're saying as in past tense that we went through a recession. I think we're in a recession, and I think that recession is going to turn into a depression.
Well, right. I mean, that's a point of view. There's no doubt. The question is,
but what I'm asking you, what do you think has caused you to change? Why do you think we're out of that? I'm just asking. I'm putting you on the spot.
I will tell you. I think this was a self-induced recession. We've had, although you could argue that we've been kicking the can down the road and just, you know, someday over the rainbow, maybe there's an insurmountable problem. But the truth is, we have managed growth to an extent where there's been no inflation in 30 years in this country, in the United States, and really most of the rest of the world, other than obviously isolated examples. We got rid of inflation. We
couldn't afford it, by the way.
Right. And we've managed growth. We've had positive GDP. You know, is it off the charts? No, but we've had decades of positive GDP. We then, you know, and here's where, you know, feel however you want to feel about it. One day we woke up and said, guess what? We're turning the entire world off. Everybody has to go home. Every business has to shut down. I mean, that's what happened here in the United States. So I can't speak for everywhere in the world, although, you know, and I know there were certain countries that actually did take a different stance, and they had a different result. But here, if you were a restaurant, you were closed for 3 months, 6 months, a year, a lot. Let me tell you something. There's, I don't know if it's 100,000 restaurants maybe that never opened back up. So if you're a restaurant,
I think there's going to be a lot more that close here shortly, because it's really hard to be profitable with the margins that they currently have.
Well, they changed the entire way the economy works. By shutting the economy down, look what happened at the same time. All of a sudden, Apple's a multi-trillion-dollar company.
Yeah.
Amazon's a multi-trillion-dollar company. And I'm not, you guys are going to get the wrong idea. I'm not like, big business is bad. The pendulum has swung here to a point that it's never been to before.
I think that big business is bad. I think that there's a point where when the money has trickled all the way up to the top and there's very, few in the bottom, I think that's, I think here's my problem. And I think this is why I have a problem with the bailouts again with the banks is our government's picking the winner and the losers. And they've been doing it since 2020. And that's my reason of why I feel that there's something going to happen more than where we're currently at, is because we are we have an organization that's the government that says you're going to win, you're going to lose. I mean,
Well,
a great example, and no one's even talking about it, is Florida. You know, Florida just went through a devastating hurricane, right? We got $1.5 billion for repairs from the federal government. I think it's right around that. And then you have, and I hate to compare it this way, but look at how much money has been given to Ukraine for the exact same thing. And then you have the rebuilding of Ukraine, which no one's even talking about, that is only going to one person. And I ain't mentioning their name because we'll get flagged. You know what I mean?
well, and we've been through several scenarios with past wars over the decades where it's not only is an extended, expensive process to be at war. Not only, obviously there's the human aspect, which really is the most important part of all of it. But then there's when the war, when the war's over. You're right. The winners and losers are picked financially speaking, and it definitely they're not targeting the middle class to try and raise the standard of living.
The reason why I'm so glad that we live in the United States is because that we have had true freedom. And when you look at where we're at now, we're no longer there because you have small businesses in the middle business. And look, I'm fine. I'll be fine forever. But I don't need much. You know what I mean? Some people need a lot. I don't need much.
You just need your
right, and
1 meal units that you're going to buy from.
I mean, you look at the stock price of everything, and I feel it's just been a liquidity problem. M1, M2, they have been pumped in here, and at some point in time, they're going to pull it out. They have to now. You disagree with that?
Well, here's the ironic thing. I think it was so one of the things they did when they turned the economy off was they pumped money into the economy by far more than ever in history. But last week, they put almost $300 billion into the economy. So there was massive. It was one of the biggest quantitative easing weeks in the history of the Federal Reserve last week. So I think they're likely to do that for as long as these banks are going out of business. I think you're going to see a correlation there. And that's why there's not going to be 100 banks or 200 banks, because they're going to do enough to support the system. Now,
so do you think that makes inflation goes up?
That's the question. Is that going to lead to inflation, 12 months from now, 18 months from now, 24 months from now? Are we going to have a big inflation problem because all of a sudden, they put $1 trillion? Even if it was, and this sounds silly, but even if it was just $1 trillion, I don't think that would cause. I don't think that's a blip. I don't think that would cause future inflation if they could get the banking situation under control by using $1 trillion, creating new money. I think that would be fine. If it just keeps going on and on and on, then yeah, I think we're going to have another round of the inflation that we just. I mean, for most people, I don't know, how, depending on your age, you might have never known inflation in your entire life. I mean, inflation disappeared. We actually had more periods of deflation than we had. The EU's prime rate was negative prior to this situation.
Which is great for people that got the money. Right?
It's just staggering. It's just a very different world. Now, all of a sudden, we've got a world of inflation. And, our inflation, our CPI number went down to 6% top line. I think I read that in the EU, they're at 8.5%. So, they're not satisfied with that number. And so they raised rates 50 basis points last week. Because they were, if you think Jerome Powell was slow to raise rates, the EU was much slower than the US was. So everybody kind of missed that. And I think they just got so used to decades and decades of that not being necessary that they just, they jumped in late. That's what happened.
I just cannot get over 1,000 cases of that's just so much. For $25,
you're gonna have You're going to have warehouses full of... So I'm just peeking in on the Bitcoin miners. Everything's drifting down. Bitcoin itself, I mean, we're still at 27.7. That's hard to complain. And we are still, from the close of the equity markets on Friday to where we are right now, we're up 3%. That's a very big move to the upside. So to see all this red with the Bitcoin miners, this just means the trend is continuing. The one that I will say, Cypher ran up well beyond everything else. So it's having a pullback today. This was destined to happen one of these days or another. So it happens to be today. So I'm not even as concerned about a one-off event on Cypher. But when you see Hut down and Hive down, effectively Bitfarms is down because remember, they had that false action at the last second of the day on Friday. Marathon's down 4%. Cypher red. We talked about Iris red. I mean, let's see if we can turn this day around and start turning this board back into the green. Or, you know, if today's going to be a red day. You would not have thought that over this weekend. Like I said, this orange line right here, that's where Bitcoin was when the equity markets closed on Friday. So you can see this held as a line of support. I mean, incredibly. And we're now over 3% above that. So to me, we should be getting good price action. Let's see. Let's just take a quick look at the market. I mean, you know, with the cryptocurrency world, I look first at the NASDAQ because that's usually the closest relation. So the NASDAQ's pretty close to break even. Everything else is actually, the S&P is up 2/3%. The Dow's up 1%. Russell's up 1%. But the NASDAQ is flat on the day. So, you know, this is another day where I'm going to go back to my chart where this is all the Bitcoin miners versus Bitcoin over from February of 2023 to March of 2023. So you can see these are all the Bitcoin miners are lagging Bitcoin drastically. The one that was ahead of it is down 12% today the last time we looked. Let's see what it is now. Okay, so it's down 10%. So that's now under Bitcoin because Bitcoin's up again and Cypher's down to up 3% in total now. So you've got Riot at 4 or 5%, Cypher at 3%. Everything else is down month over month, even though Bitcoin is up month over month. And not just a little bit down, way down. So somewhere the question becomes, do you guys think that, we talk about Bitcoin decoupling from the NASDAQ. Are the Bitcoin miners decoupling from Bitcoin? Because I think this is a temporary situation, and I think we've seen this before. You know, if you pick, depending on the dates that you pick, a lot of times it looks like these numbers are out of whack. But the longer period of time you look at, the more they tend to line up. So I think we're in a moment in time here where the Bitcoin miners are lagging. It seems to be continuing today. And this is the other thing that happens. Even though we're way up, the short term, the momentum for the last few hours is down. So we're up 3% from last Friday, but this short-term momentum is down, and that tends to make people, that tends to push these miners. We experience this a lot. A little short-term, massive moves to the upside, and then a little short-term downward momentum, and everything turns red. So we'll see. We got a lot of day left here. I think we've got 3 hours of trading left, so we'll see where this day ends. Stronghold is a standout. Stronghold's up 21% today, and Stronghold, you can see it had a lot of room to make up. It's down 47% month over month. So it's making up a lot of that ground today. And that's what I think is going to start to happen. Today it's Stronghold for whatever reason. Another day it's going to be, I don't know what. But I do think that the higher quality companies in here are going to end up in the green. And whereas they're all deeply in the red right now. let's see. Let me catch up a little bit on the chat. What do you think of Gareth Soloway? Asks Bitcoin rules. I have no response to that. The Fed has shown that they are willing to save the financial system, and they will, but it's also eroding capitalism and moving towards socialism. So, I mean, yeah, in the short term, when they step in, this is my opinion on that. There are short-term instances where there's a crisis enough that they need to step in and do whatever they have to do. But if they adopt those policies as long-term standing policies, then yeah, you're starting to move away from capitalism towards socialism. However, you know, some safety net, which the whole concept of a safety net is really a very socialism type of a concept, but that doesn't mean it's right or wrong. I think a safety net is crucial. You know, we don't want the world cascading into a depression. So some of these mechanisms, while we don't love them while they're happening, I think in the grand scheme of things, if they can keep control of them, now oftentimes they lose control because, you know, once one of these agencies gets some power, you know what happens. Barry said, I think the market is just waiting until the Fed do their stuff. There are too many unknowns. Yeah, I mean, this is a time of a lot of unknowns. But there is, I mean, there's no doubt there's a flight to safety in Bitcoin right now. And I'm not sure that we've ever had a time where you could say that. This is on the one, is this the 1 day? Yeah. Get rid of the 200-week moving average. So again, we're way above. This is a line, you know, I started talking about this back when we crossed it. So this has been a long-running conversation on this channel. We were below this 200-week moving average, and it was getting worse and worse. You know, we finally tested it and failed, but now this time, you know, and we've been above it. So what's the highest we got above this? Looks like we got almost 10% above this at one point, and right now, see, we've come back a little bit. So right now we're only about 9% above it. We did get as high yesterday as, yeah, still only around 9 or 10%. So we're not out of the woods. We'd like to see a breakout from here and have several daily candles close. And we're starting to. I mean, this is moving in the right direction, in my opinion. Alex said, without the miners mining Bitcoin, you just balloon the Bitcoin price. I think the money makers are wanting to buy miners at cheaper, keeping prices depressed. So I agree with that. I think a lot of these are small cap. So just to put it in perspective, I'm going to go to the market cap thing. Now, this is per Yahoo. Every single one of these is not absolutely correct, but I do verify several of these from time to time to make sure these are in the ballpark. So for the purposes of this conversation, I would say these are accurate enough. You'll see Marathon and Riot are on their own level, right? That's the flight to safety. So even in the Bitcoin miners, what are the three Bitcoin miners that are off to the races? Marathon, Riot, and Cypher. Well, those are the three biggest market cap Bitcoin miners, and they're the three best performing Bitcoin miners. But once you get down here, I mean, look at the nano cap market caps on these Bitcoin miners. Even Argo Blockchain used to be one of the big dogs. They have an $80 million market cap. I mean, there's companies that don't have a product or a prototype that have 10 times this market cap. Iris Energy, 164. To me, CleanSpark and Bitfarms were both at 191 million. I mean, those are under 200 million. These were billion-dollar companies a long time ago. So, I don't know. I think there's a lot of room left. But the point to that was to agree with Alex that because these are so small in market cap, they are very easily manipulated in the short term. Now, at some point, if Bitcoin's at $35,000 and, you know, CleanSpark's mining 700 Bitcoin in a month, and, you know, you're going to be able to do the math and say, wait a second, you know, these companies are literally minting money at this point. So at some point, I think this corrects itself if Bitcoin can take that next leg up. But right now, these numbers are stupid low, in my opinion. I think this is crazy. And again, maybe some of these will fail and go to zero, but the ones that don't are not going to be $80 million companies. I mean, that is just beyond tiny. George, what's our new poll? We're going to end this poll, which was extremely close. Is the current banking crisis worse than the 2008-2009 banking crisis? 46% said yes. 54% said no. At one point, this was 50-50. So I think we have a very, very split decision here on this one. So
my question to people would be, why do you think it isn't?
Why do you think it's not worse?
Yeah, that would be my question. Because if 50% of the people think that it's not, why is it?
So you guys can drop in the chat.
Yeah, we have two things that people, one is the war and two is inflation. And we have inflation when oil's at $65 a barrel. Remember they told us last time we had a crazy inflation about 2008, 9, whenever it was, because we had this inflation and it was all because of energy. That's not the case this time.
Well, we're going to have to wait and see, because I will say oil peaked at around the same time that the CPI peaked in the U.S., and it's been pulling back. The question is it going to keep pulling back? Is there a reason to believe, like oil's at $65, $66 a barrel, is it going to run back up to 100?
No. But correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, wasn't oil at like $1.20 back then?
Yeah.
It was $1.20. So if it's the same, you would think oil would be at $1.20. It's half that price. Okay? And we're already having the problems that we're having right now. Oh my goodness. Wait for oil to get to 120.
So that's what you're saying. You think oil is going to run back up.
Oh my goodness.
That's going to be
when oil makes its next run, which probably won't be until the third or the fourth quarter of this year. It's just going to be insane. Probably the third quarter, if I had to guess real quick. It's just going to be insane.
Alex is saying, for George, you will love this app. Kitco app shows Bitcoin trading live with coins buying or selling. Currently, last hour, we sold 194 coins.
Kitco.
Darren is saying, I just keep adding CleanSpark calls for 2025.
Nice.
I just keep adding CleanSpark. I mean, it's still now down. You know, it was up 10%. It's only up 4% now on the day today. So even we'll see. There's a bunch of day left here.
Only two holdings I have are CleanSpark and XRP. Nothing else. By the way.
That's right. You've got one miner and one cryptocurrency.
Yep. And I got a ton of CleanSpark. And I don't know if I'll ever sell it.
But you also have... Yeah, you have intentions, I think, that if there's a giant pullback, you're going to buy Bitcoin or no?
Yeah, a ton of Bitcoin. My theory is, I think I said 15 is when I'm going to start averaging in.
Right.
So I might never own Bitcoin. Well, I own some now, but not a ton. Nothing to shake a stick at.
Life is saying this time there is a lifeboat that was built in response to the last crisis, aka Bitcoin. Yeah, because it's interesting. I mean, Bitcoin started immediately after the last financial crisis. So, you know, there was no option to flee to safety to Bitcoin. It didn't exist. That's how short, you know, we're still way early days on all this.
What happens if we lose power? What happens if we lose the internet?
Well, I mean, those aren't going to function. those aren't going to happen as a function of being in a recession. Those could happen for
No,
other
no, I'm
reasons.
just saying that, but I'm just saying hypothetically, what happens? How do you trade? There's only one. This is crazy, and I didn't even do this for this reason, but there's only one coin that can trade off network. Does anybody know what coin that is?
Based on the
I don't know
fact that
how it
you're-
works. I don't know how it works. Trust me. I don't know how it works. XRP. No, we're not big ETH fans right yet. We're trying to become. But what happens with ETH is that they keep letting us down. And they don't.
Yeah, we don't talk a lot about ETH. I suppose, it's the second largest cryptocurrency. And number 1 and 2 are locked in by far, Bitcoin and then Ethereum. There's several cryptocurrencies that are a notch behind that people keep saying are going to, maybe fight for that spot that Ethereum has. Some people think Ethereum is going to pass Bitcoin. Some people think XRP is going to pass Bitcoin. There's a lot of different theories out there, but to me, when they switched over, I will tell you, I lost all confidence when they switched over, and I know this was quote unquote their plan all along. When they switched over to proof of stake, yeah, that's why I'm saying quote it was their plan all along.
Did you say woke? Sorry, go on.
I have a lot less confidence in what they're doing now. And again, if you do, and we haven't spent a lot of time talking about this, but there's 4 other massive changes that they're going to make to the Ethereum network over the course of the next several years. So that does not give me confidence versus a Bitcoin, which it is what it is. It's essentially, they can give it a tune-up and make some minor changes, and they can build some stuff on top of it that gives it a lot more utility, which, by the way, is happening now substantially more than it was 1 year ago and 2 years ago. Bitcoin is a much more definable thing. I'm not a Bitcoin maximalist, but I definitely skew heavily towards Bitcoin. I think there's other coins that serve great purposes, and Ethereum is the most used. It has the most use case by far right now. I don't know if that's always going to be true. Gorilla
Very
said,
interesting.
Bitcoin, George.
I'll sleep better at night. Yeah, but the only way you really have Bitcoin is if you have the keys.
Yeah, you need to
Get 'em
actually
off
have
those-
your Bitcoin. Hold your Bitcoin. Jeff said proof of stake equals proof of fraud. So Jeff is not on board the proof of stake train. I'm not either.
Amen. Amen. And that is what I'm worried about, by the way.
It's and it's funny because one of the big talking points was we're going to move to proof of stake because it's so much more secure. But it's like, all right, explain to me how it's more secure, because in my opinion, just by its definition, it's less secure. So, I guess there's some people that'll probably would argue that point with me, and maybe that could be a separate live stream. I do want to have a potential XRP live stream. I don't know. We should see if anybody's interested in that, or if that's something that nobody cares about. I know that George is interested in that. We also have another person that I consider a resident expert that joins us often. I think was on the stream earlier. I'm not sure if he's still on the stream. So, XRP is worth talking about. Ethereum's worth talking about. And the list is short. The list is short. I mean, if you look at market caps, Bitcoin's now over half a $1 trillion. It drops all the way down to 200 billion for Ethereum, so that's less than half. This is a stable coin. Binance drops all the way down to 53 billion. That's the next coin. So, I mean, you've got 2 coins and then you have everything else. And even after Binance, the drop off, like this is a stable coin, and then you go to XRP. So, taking out the stable coins, you've got Bitcoin, Ethereum, Binance, and XRP. Those are the top 4, and then it cuts almost in half again to get to Cardano, Polygon, Dogecoin. So it's a short list. I know there's some popular ones that are a little further down. Solana, Polkadot, Tron, Litecoin. I don't even know what to make out of Litecoin. I gave up on them a long time ago. You know, and then it's whatever the coin of the day is. There is, you know, if you start getting down the list like this, there is the potential for some of these things to run and do 10x's and 20x's because they're such small market caps. That doesn't even mean they're going to succeed. It's just a lot of people have caught a lot of big runs on altcoins. So right now, I don't think it's altcoin season. The Bitcoin dominance is, you know, back, you know, at its recent highs, and it seems to be growing. And you can even just see in the last week, Bitcoin's up 32%, Ethereum's up 21%, Binance is up 21%, XRP is up 1%, Cardano 10%, Polygon 17%. So Bitcoin's been beating everything of the larger market caps for a while now. And that's not going to happen forever. This also ebbs and flows. Right now, it's not necessarily altcoin season. So, you know, there's some of you that know a lot more about this than I do. You can let me know if and when you think we're going to switch, you know, that flip is going to switch. But I don't think it's in the next, you know, short period of time. I don't think it's in the next 90 days. Barry said it's worth keeping an eye on Bit Digital and Smurf if ETH starts going on a run. Yeah, Bit Digital still holds a lot of Ethereum. They're the only Bitcoin mining company, as far as I know, that actually has a significant amount of Ethereum on their balance sheet. What's up, George?
Oh, just, you know, issues.
Work?
Yeah, it's part of it, man. Got to keep the plates spinning.
Multitasking.
Got to keep them spinning. But you want to know what the real problem is now?
Yeah.
It's lunchtime. And I'm starved.
Do we need to wrap it up and eat lunch?
Yeah, I think we got to wrap it up and eat lunch.
All right.
I don't need to go yet because somebody's coming over to my house, so he's going to be a minute.
All right. You want to call it like 15 more minutes or something?
Yeah, 15 more minutes.
That's time. That's more than enough time for another poll.
Yes.
I want to see. First, I want to read. Alex said, "Fidelity will keep your Bitcoin keys. If you believe in their financial strength, then they may be the safest storage without you losing your keys." So that's a fair question, because the other thing is, you know, they say not your keys, not your coins, but what if you lose your key? What if you forget the password? What if you forget the, you know, etc.? So, you know, nothing is risk-free.
The secret words.
That's right.
I forgot mine. I gave them to my son. I go, Chance, don't ever lose these. I go, hey, I need those keys. I need the keys, the words. And he goes, oh, I lost them. We found them.
Oh, you did find them. That's good. Yeah, because if you lose them, I don't think there's a plan B. I think that's it.
How do you feel about HUT 8 at these levels? Tom, take it.
I like HUT 8 at these levels. I still don't think I know enough about their potential merger of equals. They have some positive stuff going on, some negative stuff going on. But remember, one thing that they have is 9,200 Bitcoin on their balance sheet, right? And Bitcoin has gone up. So we just looked. Bitcoin's gone up 86%. So if nothing else changed, you know, you could argue that HUT should go up 86% just on the value of its Bitcoin. And I think Bitcoin's not done going up. So I also like the fact that HUT's diversifying with this merger that yes, we still don't know enough about. They are diversifying geographically, which I think is critical. They're 100% in Canada from the beginning of time until now. This gets them into the United States. So I think there's some potential good stuff coming out of there. I don't think they've made the greatest case so far as to why this merger is good. I feel like they got to get, just from an investor relations standpoint, they've got to do a better presentation as to why investors should feel good about this merger. But
I can tell you what I think they're doing wrong with that. Do you want to hear it?
Absolutely.
You have a company that's going to have a valuation of, let's just say, what was it, 500 million at the end?
Once they join at these levels, right. At one point, everyone was looking at it, and it looked like it was going to be a $900 million market cap when they combined, but that's not the case
right
anymore.
At these levels, it's 5. I don't believe they have hired, because I don't think that it's I don't think it's been approved yet. So I think they need to have a person that is like some type of like marketing person that sells this and sells the dream. And they're going to need to spend like $5 to 10 or $20 million for that. That's what they need to do. They're going to try to keep all that in house, and they're not going to, does that make sense?
You're saying you think they should hire a third party that does this to do a better job of disseminating a more coherent message?
Yes. They're not doing very good with their message at all. And I think that people forget. So when you are investing in a stock, right, you're doing research, but it's still like a sales tactic to buy your stock, especially crypto, because of the ESG problems that crypto mining currently has, specifically Bitcoin. And with that, you need to make a case study of why you think that you should come directly to HUD 8 and buy it. And they're not making that. See, most people don't go out and buy stocks on their own. They have an investor, and that investor or financial advisor, they make their decisions for those people's estates. Or do you agree with that?
Well, they need to get out to the institutions.
Yes.
Because that's where all the money is.
You got it.
Convincing me and you and the John Q public is not their biggest goal. You're right. They've got to convince institutions that, hey, we're going to do this thing and it's going to make us more viable for you to invest in. I absolutely agree with that. That's their actual it's customer's not the right word, but customer, if you will.
Right. So once they do that, then I think that they have a better chance to have a better longevity and a better return on their investment. Because when you go, and that's number one, but number two, it's going to be an American company, so you got the whole institutions from America that can jump in and buy it.
That's a game changer for them,
Yeah.
and I think that's a big part of they didn't really. They didn't hit that home to the retail investor, and maybe the retail investor doesn't care as much about that. But that's why they got to get out in front of the institutions to let them know. Look, we're now they're already on the NASDAQ. We're now based in the United States. It'd be nice if they got their stock over $5 naturally. We'll see what happens. So, yeah,
I think that if you just have that person, whatever it is, the HUD 8 blonde bomb or something, that goes around to different investment things, and promotes that coin, or promotes that miner.
You want an independent third party because, honestly, Sue is the head of investor relations. So really,
yeah, but it's bigger. It's bigger than her. Do you see what I mean? I'm not saying that you need a team of people. You need 20, 30 people.
Yeah, you want to hire a major.
Media. When I say social media, you should have 100 people out there all the time promoting your coin, talking about it, doing interviews with YouTube people like yourself, and always getting in people's face, and having money for this, transition for advertising, because that's how you become successful, and that's how you quickly rise to the top. The one thing about Marathon, and this is one thing you can't take away from Marathon, it's almost a household name. Everybody knows Marathon.
There's no doubt Marathon and Riot have a million-mile head start for whatever reason. They have institutional adoption. They're considered a lot safer, even though and Riot's one of my big positions, so I'm not knocking it. But if you look from a potential standpoint, I think they're the most overvalued out of all the stocks, even though I think they're undervalued. So if that makes any sense. They're undervalued versus what I think their true value should be, but they're a lot closer than most of the rest of the stocks are, and it's because they're considered the more well-known, safer stocks, for sure. Jeff is asking, CleanSpark interview, and Barry was saying there was talk of a Hive interview, so that's on me. I will pick both of those up and reach out. I do have an interview planned for both of them, and so I just got to get back to them and set a date. So
it's a moving target, right, guys?
It has been a massive moving target, and I had a little situation sidetrack me from those things. They should have already happened, but I will be getting Hive. I will be getting CleanSpark on the channel. And I got a bunch of other ones that I'd like to reach out to as well. And we still are going to see if we can get Fred on the channel, although everybody said they doubt that he would do that. But we'll see. From Marathon.
Tell him I'll come on. I'll talk to him.
You're gonna come on with him?
He won't. I don't think he will. I'm pretty sure he watched a few episodes, and we were not nice to him at all. But you know what? That's the type of interview I want to take, is the one where people are not nice to me, because that shows that I'm confident in my company.
Right. If he thinks good things about his company, this is a platform to come on and he's the CEO of the company.
Right.
Go tell people, make your case.
Yeah, and I think that there's some hiccups, and I don't think that they just want to try to move forward and forget about them.
I mean, hiccups is the understatement of the year.
I'm being nice.
I feel like
you're only as good as your last quarter, honestly.
I think they're moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
And I've tried to go through the good and the bad with them, and usually there's a bunch of both. If they can just reduce the negative stuff, I do think they're moving in the right direction. I know that Jeff is a longtime Marathon. I'm not going to say hater, because that's the wrong word, but I think even he's coming around a little bit, that there's some potential there.
Well, I still want to understand, and I think I kind of understand it, but the whole philosophy is just so much different than Riot's. And it's like apple. That's an apple and an orange.
They're completely different business models.
Yeah. And they really, it concerns me.
Well, they've paid the price in performance. Their business model is highly dependent on other people.
Right.
And that's what's held them up. It's not so much what they're doing, but it's what all of the many partners they need have been doing or not doing. So
right, and I just don't like that. I like to, put my own butter on my toast. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's simple.
And you have your choices inside of the Bitcoin miners. Everybody's got their own strategy. So some people are partially vertically integrated. Some people are completely vertically integrated. Some people rely on third parties almost exclusively. And to me, the thing that has turned out to be by far the biggest deal is locking down a consistent source of power at a reasonable price has turned out to be, that's what the entire Bitcoin mining, that's the the cog in the wheel. That's the
Yeah.
that's the barrier to success. You know, it's got anybody can buy a machine, but plugging them in and making them run efficiently and having a
That's
constant
difficult.
power, right?
That's difficult.
It just is. It's a lot harder than everybody thought. Let's just say that, because other than CleanSpark, nobody hit their 2022 goals, and it wasn't even close.
So, well, let me run. I'll see you guys.
All right, George, thanks for joining us. We'll see you.
I guess we're going to be on in the morning tomorrow. You want to try to do the same time?
I'll do a poll as to
Okay.
9:30 or 11:30. How about that?
Sounds cool. I'll be over in a little bit. See ya.
All right, see ya. All right, so that'll be the final poll of the day. Give me 1 second. All right, so if we do a live stream and we got to where we're going, so I just put a poll up. What do you guys like better? I'm using Eastern time because that's where I am. So it's basically, the question is, right at the market open, do we want to do a live stream, or do we want to do it more in the middle of the day like this is? What works better for you guys? In the meantime, we did get one new member on today's live stream. If anybody else is interested, membership is $5. You can hit the join button on the YouTube page. So you don't have to go sign up to any third party or anything. You just hit join on the YouTube page, and there's a bunch of members only content, and we do a members only live stream as well. In addition to that, we have a members only Discord. So it's a good group, and I appreciate everybody's support, because I will tell you, YouTube, for whatever reason, is struggling greatly with their revenue, or at least the part they're sharing. Let's just say that. We do not even close to break even on this thing, which is fine, but that's why I do appreciate everybody's support. I know it doesn't seem like much, but it makes a difference. Barry, gold above $2,000 again. That was one of the things that I wanted to go through. And I don't know if it jumped back over now. It popped over, and then it went a little lower. But it's hanging around that 2,000 again. It's gotten there a few times over the years. JP Media is saying there's too many other live streamers at the market open, so that's something to consider. Yeah, that's a great point. That's probably a very popular time to stream, so we don't want to jump in. So fair point, fair point. Let's look at gold while we're doing this. This was on gold. Why did it? Aha. There we go. So we're at $1,978, but you can see this is today's candle. We got up to $2,000, call it $2,010 per trading view. So I don't know if some other places showed it get a little bit higher than that. Jeff said, join the membership in all capitals. Yes, I appreciate your support, Jeff. Anybody willing to join, we would love to have you, and I think it's more than worth its So if you remember, we got to gold. Let me get rid of this 200-week moving average. We got to gold 2,000 in March of 2022 when the market had a big run, Bitcoin had a big run, the Bitcoin miners had a big run. There was a nice, right? This was a nice, from January through the end of March. Well, really here, this is for gold. It was closer to the middle of March. This was up 16%, which for gold is a big, big move. So this got over 2,000. Then we, on one of our live streams, read an article, it must have been this day, where somebody had written an article, that's the gold will never go below $2,000 ever again. And of course, it went immediately below 2,000 and has not been back there again until today. So today we did get over 2,000. So we'll see. And again, this goes to flight to safety. Nobody goes into gold thinking, well, you know what, I'm going to 10x or 100x. But the one thing that has been true of gold over the course of time is it is a store of value. Is it the best return on your investment? Not necessarily at all. But if you are scared and the market's getting scary, then people will, this is the flight to safety. Bitcoin is turning into the same thing. I think Bitcoin could supersede gold at some point. We're still so early in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, but these are and the one that I didn't talk about that I'm the most interested in right now, although I've been burned before, is silver. That's another one where it's a flight to safety, but in addition to that, silver has an awful lot of use case. So whereas gold, not so much. Gold is just, gold's been some form of money for, throughout all human history. So it's got that going for it. Mike is saying 30K before Wednesday. I feel like that's right. Wednesday at 2 o'clock, the Fed comes out. I think they're going to say 0.25. Everyone's saying, well, I think Jerome Powell's going to talk a lot more dovish. I don't think so. I think he's going to say the exact same things that he's been saying because he's on his talking points, and it just seems like, he's not going to stop until, if we get 2 or 3 more really good CPI numbers, if we start getting, we were still at 6. If we can get into the low 5s, if we could get into the 4s, I think Jerome Powell could start changing his talking points dramatically. But between now and then, unless the banking crisis gets substantially worse, it's hard for me to imagine that he's going to change what he's talking about. So, and the market reacts just as much to his little question and answer session as it does to the actual rate hike. So that's always a rocky road Wednesday afternoon from 2 o'clock until the market close. People are digesting that information, and the market can be insane. Bitcoin can be insane. Robert's asking, what are Riot's growth plans after 12 exahash? So they have been very, very quiet. They haven't put out a new purchase order for a Bitcoin mining machine in a year. So, and they're not alone. There are several Bitcoin miners. Now, they had already gotten themselves up to 12.5 exahash if they get everything up and running the way they're supposed to. So that's been their target for a long time. They're running close to that. They did have a storm that damaged a bunch of their equipment, so they thought they would be there right now. It looks like they're going to be there maybe in the middle of the summer, but they have been very, very close to on plan. Much more so than almost all the other Bitcoin miners. So there have been 3 or 4 Bitcoin miners that have had some decent growth. But to Robert's point, they haven't actually issued a new purchase order for a Bitcoin miner in a year. So I don't know what's next after that. Are they planning on getting to 15, 18, 20? Because that's what, we've got an awful lot of people talking about this 15 to 20 exahash range. So I think if you want to be in the top 5, as long as Bitcoin has a reasonably healthy year. It doesn't have to hit its all-time highs or any of those kind of things. But if it can get out of the bottom of the crypto winter, if it can hang out closer to this 30,000, 40,000 range, I do think you're going to see a lot of these Bitcoin miners ramp up to, 15 to 20 exahash. And I would expect Riot, I would certainly expect that they would have to unfold those types of plans over the next 90 days if they want to, keep their stock price going where it's going. And if they want to keep making money. Jeff is saying supermarkets are also a place to go when you are scared. So that proved to be very true over the course of the last year. Jeff's supermarkets call was our member call of the year. Crypto golfer, another poll, another drink. That's last drink of the day. So we'll be wrapping it up as soon as we get an answer on this poll. Can HUT reach $7 soon? I mean, I that's tough. That's tough. Obviously, it's anybody's guess, but they're U.S. dollars, Canadian dollars. That makes a little bit of a difference, but either way, it's going to be tough. They're at $1.84 in U.S. dollars right now, and they've had a nice run up. They just doubled to get to that. So I think $7 soon, I think, is aggressive. I am looking for a nice move up for all of these, but I'm not looking for anybody to get to the finish line by soon. I would take that to mean, 90 days or less. If by soon do you mean, 2024, then I think it can get way past that. But, I don't think it's imminent. Barry's saying, at what price will Coors pop out of bankruptcy? I mean, we need to see. That's why I'm not in Coors. Now, having said that, those people that have done it as a swing trade have killed it. Coors is up massively. So it's been a phenomenal swing trade. But I don't know what they look like coming out of bankruptcy. I will say this. If Bitcoin gets to 40,000, 50,000, 60,000, all of a sudden, Core Scientific, which, at Bitcoin 18,000 or 16,800, their formula was hopelessly broken. At Bitcoin 60,000, you've got a completely different situation going there. So that remains to be seen, and it's an interesting question. Let's see. Robert said, could you do a video on future growth plan for some of the miners that talk about what each has said with some data to back up or possible refute those plans? So I can do that. And there's about half the miners that have been talking about growth and half the miners that really have been sort of radio silent for quite some time now because of the fact that we've been in this crypto winter and, things got so ugly. Most of these companies were more worried about, how do I maintain enough liquidity to not go out of business? That was, there was 6 solid months where that was really job one at all of the Bitcoin mining companies. So I think we're segueing out of that, and some of these companies have made specific announcements. So I can definitely do where is everybody at right now and what's their target for the end of the year, and then maybe an estimate of what I think they're actually going to do. Some of the people that haven't spoken, I suspect are going to be doing some things. They just haven't started talking about it yet. I like Stronghold. They've been underperforming right there. And I double checked this, and this looks right to me, but I've seen it higher than this. But regardless, whatever it is, whether it's 17 million or 25 million, their market cap is tiny. And to me, they've done everything they need to make sure they don't go out of business. This is a going out of business type of a market cap. So I think, you know, if you're willing to wait, it could be a long time, but I do think, you know, for me, I like Stronghold. And they're, you know, they could ditch Bitcoin and still be a energy company and succeed at what they want to do. So I don't think they will ditch Bitcoin. I don't think they need to. And as the price of Bitcoin goes up, that's where the money's going to be for them. All right, let's take a look at the poll. This was closer than I thought. So we got 56% say midday, which is what we did today. This was 11:30 Eastern time. So that is 2 hours after the U.S. equity markets open. So that looks like it's going to be the winner. And I think we've decided we got what we needed to do a live stream tomorrow. So we will see you guys. I will try to get, I've got some videos I'd like to get out in the meantime, but also we will do a live stream tomorrow, and we will do a members only live stream that I got some other stuff for tomorrow after the market closes. So, all right, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you, everybody, for spending some of your day with me and George, and thanks again to all the members. Welcome to our new member. Much appreciated, and we'll see you guys in either the next video or the next live stream.